All right, this shouldn't count in my 7 minutes, but it's croc.
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 Everyone always gets it wrong.
Mandy-Rae Krack.
So in case people don't know what freediving is, I've only got 7 minutes, so very simply, it's deep snorkeling. So with mass snorkel fins on one breath, we see how deep we can go. This was an amazing shot from Dominican Republic, diving with humpback whales for the movie The Cove. But I got involved in freediving back in 2000 because of that guy. It was all his fault. I was a scuba diver and happy doing breathing bubbles and everything like that. And he came back, he was a friend, came back into Vancouver and wanted to start freediving there and talked me into doing it. And I thought, well, I was a synchronized swimmer when I was young. We'll give it a try and see what we can do. And by the end of the first year, he had me on this record attempt in Aruba with Audrey Ferreras, where I was going to do a tandem no limits dive where a weighted sled pulls you down to depth and a lift bag brings you back up. And I had only been to 36 meters of depth before that. On that dive, we went down to 101 meters, and I could equalize my ears. We flew out of Aruba with my husband planning my first world record, this one here, which was a no limits dive to 136 meters, 447 feet. And we stopped at that depth because a week before the record attempt, we ran out of line. I did it all on my Visa card, and we couldn't afford more line, so that's as far as we went. It's an amazing trip. No Limits is the big numbers, really impressive. World record right now, 700 meters. 702 feet, sorry. This one, meters. Okay. Meters, feet, that looks really bad. So after doing that one, the numbers are impressive for No Limits, but it's not the hardest of the disciplines. Constant ballast is the hardest one. I went on to do a static apnea world record where you just float face down in the pool and hold your breath for a long time. And we actually use that as a way of training for the depth disciplines. The more you hold your breath, the more used to lower levels of oxygen and higher levels of CO2 your body is accustomed to, allows you to be underwater longer. We even went so far as to use a hypoxic tent. So I would sleep in that thing at night and breathe air that had lower levels of oxygen in it to help me get used to it. Husband ended up having to sleep on the couch with the dog because neither of them could withstand the lower levels of oxygen that I could. There's a lot of mental preparation that I found goes into doing these records. One of them for me was I could fathom 88 meters, which was the record I was going for, in depth. But seeing it stretched out horizontally on land freaked me out, and I stopped watching the judges stretch the line ahead of time because of that. Originally, I wanted to do the record out in Vancouver waters because nobody did the world records in cold waters. And this is part of the reason why. Without a light on this picture, you would not see this plate. And that's below 60 meters. I was going for 88 meters. And it took a lot of mental practice to be able to get myself beyond these depths in black waters that was like diving with your eyes closed. So we went to the Cayman Islands. Much better. And these scooters we actually used as a training tool. They were also a lot of fun, but it helped us adapt to pressure. We had to equalize really fast, and we would get upwards of 100 meters on these scooters just for training. Another thing that would help put my mind at ease at going into these records would be the fact that I knew I had safety divers down there. We had guys staged all the way down on the dive, so I was always in view of somebody on the line. And they'd have a camera to film it, and then somebody with them would be down there just as safety, just to help me out. When you see me going out on the boat, this is a very unusual shot. I look like I'm all calm and just thinking about what's going on. Minutes after that, on the back of the boat, we were singing around, putting on our wetsuits, dancing to Gwen Stefani. And that's how I usually prep getting into it. I like to forget about what I'm about to do and just have fun with the whole thing. Once I get in the water, I don't speak to another soul until I finish my dive. That's when I really get into my head. I start doing my breathe-ups, start focusing on the water, and just melt away. is really what you're trying to do. You need to become part of the water. It's one of the few sports where you don't get ramped up before your performance. At the beginning of the dive, you can see there's actually a lot of people up around the top. We have a lot goes into doing this one dive for one person. And we have to use the principles of the water to help us out. On the way down on the dive, you think about technique. Actually, the whole dive, you have to think about technique. If all you think about is getting down and back up, you never make it to the bottom. So you think about all the bits and pieces that get you there. This part here, the sink phase, is one of the funnest parts of the dive. You get to a point in your dive where your lungs are so compressed, your wetsuit is so compressed, that you don't need to swim anymore, and you're still traveling at the same speed you were when you were kicking. And once you can get your mind around it, this is the most enjoyable part of the dive. Well, besides grabbing the tag at depth and suddenly realizing that you've hit world record depth. You've been somewhere where nobody else has ever been before. And I used to remember grabbing that tag, and you'd have this moment where you smile to yourself and think it, and then all of a sudden reality sits in, and you still have 88 more meters to go back up. And for us, on the way back up, those safety divers, they start screaming, and they're cheering you on. You can hear them saying, "Go, Mandy, go, go, Mandy, go." You get up to about 100 feet, 30 meters, and my safety diver, also my coach and husband, would meet me, and he follows you eye to eye the rest of the way up, because that's our danger zone for a free diver when you risk blacking out. This picture was taken just minutes after I finished my surface protocol, where when we come up within 15 seconds, we need to take off all of our face equipment, give the judges an okay sign, and say, "I'm okay." Then they watch you for a minute, and they tell you you got a new world record. So that's right afterwards, wearing my fluid goggles and everything. And then on the boat, you stand around, you get to take a few pictures. That little tag, that was a spackle tool that we got from a dollar store. And that's usually one of your only momentums that you get after doing a world record in free diving. You never win money out of it. And you usually just spend it, actually. And the other one is getting your anti-doping test paperwork. I have all of my anti-doping test paperworks afterwards, and I had to show this picture because, you know, it's one of the few things you have after doing a freediving world record is that paperwork when they send off your pee sample to somebody. Actually, one of my friends in the audience was one of the first people that ever gave me an anti-doping test, and we're actually still friends after that. So, you know, I ended up getting sucked into a sport I never knew anything about. And with a little encouragement from someone that saw something in me, ended up doing remarkable things and went places I never thought I could do. So, you know, step out of your comfort zone and give things a try. You'll be amazed at what you're able to accomplish. The last slide there, just a little push. If you guys want to see more pictures or videos, go to performancefreediving.com, and you can see a little bit more about what freediving is and how to get involved.